Hey everybody, this is TJR.
And this is Superfan.
And we're just hanging out with our little friend here. And this video is another edition of answering your mean and nasty comments. And
your nice ones too.
Yes, and the nice ones too. But we like that title. The other day, you brought up to me the fact that my video that was titled Carpenter versus John Bonham is getting close to 1 million views.
Yeah.
This video, I posted it several months back, and it kind of exploded, much to my surprise. I wasn't expecting this one to explode. Trust me, I'm grateful that it did. It started going hugely viral. But what surprises me is that it's still going. I kind of thought by now that it would have died down a little bit, but it continues to grow every single week. It gets more and more views, and we're getting close to 1 million now.
Yeah, and it seems to have inspired a lot of other videos too.
Yeah, since I made that video, we've seen quite a number of videos posted on YouTube of drummers reacting to Karen Carpenter playing drums. And some of them commenting on the whole thing where, Bonham, in a fit of rage, angrily talked about this to a Vanity Fair reporter, which is kind of what inspired my video, was reading this article about how he got really angry and upset when he found out that Karen Carpenter ranked higher than him in this poll. A lot of people asked me who was number one. It was Buddy Rich. He was at number one. But this video still keeps generating lots and lots of comments. I cannot get over how many comments I'm still getting for this video, even after all these months. I mean, on YouTube, everything comes and goes so quick.
Yeah.
And the last video that I had that broke the 1 million mark was my Led Zeppelin versus Spirit video from 2014, which currently is at 1,700,000 roughly as we make this here. It's over that, but it's roughly right there. But this one here just keeps growing and growing. And like I said, if it keeps going at this rate, we're going to be at 1 million pretty soon on this one.
Which, help us get there.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear. But I wanted to take some time to talk about some of the comments on this one. One of the things that makes me very gratified, I'll start with the positives first, is that part of the reason I made the video was because I read that Vanity Fair article.
Yeah.
And at that time, I had some knowledge that Karen Carpenter played drums, but I had never really actually seen her play, so to speak. Everything that I ever saw her where she was performing, she was up in front singing. And I thought to myself, well, why would anybody think Karen Carpenter was better than John Bonham? Until I watched her play. Just like a lot of these reaction videos that are now being produced, I thought about this for a second. I thought, I better look and see if I can find some footage of her playing drums somewhere. And I found the piece of footage that I actually put not a link to, but I included a clip of it in my video, where she's 18 years old. She's playing with her brother, but they're not the Carpenters. They're like a trio of some sort.
Yeah, it was Dick Carpenter Trio, I think, at that point.
Something like that, yeah, because her drum kit just says Karen Carpenter on it. And she's performing, dancing in the street, and she's singing, she's playing, she launches into a drum solo, and she's amazing. And I was blown away. So part of the reason I made the video was I thought to myself, if I was not aware of how good she was, I'm imagining there's a lot of other people who probably aren't aware either. And I've gotten a lot of comments from people who've kind of justified that theory, but all of them saying, wow, I had no idea she was so good. I never knew. I learned something new every day. And so that was one great thing, was just the number of people who said, I had no idea until I saw your video. The other good thing was people who did know, who said, thank you for bringing this to light, because not enough people know about it. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
But what has been disheartening, as I've looked at the comments, is the other reason I made the video was to point out the fact that polls about truly great musicians are, in my opinion, pointless to a certain extent.
It's just a lot of people's opinion.
Well, the thing is it becomes apples to oranges.
Yeah.
I don't think that, I had so many people commenting, Bonham's the best, there's no doubt about it, he's number one. And then other people saying, Karen Carpenter's the best, she's way better than him. It's like, that wasn't the point of the video. The point is that they're both fantastic in their own ways.
Yeah.
And making a comparison is like comparing apples to oranges. And I used other musicians as examples. One of them I said was Pete Townsend and Eddie Van Halen, two guitarists who I admire, who influenced me tremendously. Yet they play completely differently. And in their own ways, they are equally brilliant. And yet there were people who said, there's no way that Townsend's better than Eddie Van Halen. And just these kind of very, what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of single-minded comments. It's like, no, both of these players are very good in their own rights. They're just good in different ways. They're excellent in different ways. It was disheartening that a lot of people weren't getting the point. And I tried to point that out very clearly, that comparing these, trying to rank them, it's like ranking apples to oranges. They're different things. That kind of bothered me, that I still see a lot of that. Yet a lot of people on the positive side said, you're right, apples to oranges. Appreciate them for what they are versus what they aren't, rather than trying to rank them and compare them. It's just pointless to be doing that. So a lot of people did say that they got it and that they agreed, that they got what I was trying to say, and I felt very good about that.
I mean, the thing is, with John Bonham, he was the right drummer for Led Zeppelin.
Absolutely. He brought thunder and power to those songs in a way that few other drummers could.
Karen Carpenter would be the right drummer for almost any pop combo.
She wouldn't be the right drummer for Led Zeppelin. That's for sure. I don't think she'd be the right drummer for Led Zeppelin any more than John Bonham would be the right drummer for the Carpenters. Though I think she probably could have fit in better with a lot of other pop rock groups because she'd modify her playing to fit their songs. Whereas Bonham, I think, was so powerful that he probably would have walked all over a lot of other bands, but not Led Zeppelin. Because of the players that he was working with, he fit perfectly with that group, in my opinion.
Yeah. Karen Carpenter would have held her own in the Wrecking Crew. A group of musicians that I hugely respect, and actually Hal Blaine, who was part of the Wrecking Crew, was the studio drummer for the Carpenters.
For a lot of their songs, a lot of their recordings, which always bothered me that they didn't let, at the beginning, she played on the first album, but then after that they wanted Hal Blaine playing. And I wondered, was that because, it couldn't be because she wasn't good enough. Was that because
she was a girl?
Because she was a girl? Was it because the first album didn't have any hits? So they thought they would have more hits if they had him playing? Because I don't see where she wasn't good enough. And we like recently watched the live footage from Budokan, and they had two drummers. They had her and another drummer. And this was just a few years into their careers. 74, yeah. But still just a few years into their career. And there were some songs where she was playing without the other drummer, and the drummer was just doing percussion. But other times when they're playing together. And they were both fantastic.
Yeah.
They're locking in, two drummers locking in is always very difficult without it becoming noise. And yet they did. And she played a lot of incredibly technical stuff while singing at the same time. That was another thing. A lot of people I brought up to try to illustrate why you shouldn't compare apples to oranges. I brought up in the video that yes, Bonham could play with all this power, but Karen could sing and play at the same time. I wasn't saying she was better than Bonham because she sang and played and he didn't. I said these are just different skill sets. And they're both amazing in their own right. Yet some people took that as saying, well, that comparison isn't fair because Bonham never had to sing in the band. Now, maybe he could have. And I'm like, that's not what I was saying. But yeah, that was another thing that just kind of bugged me was the people who brought that up.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Well, I think especially I've noticed with Led Zeppelin, and I think it's true also with like the Beatles, there are some fans who can't handle any type of critical analysis of their favorite groups, unless it's all 100%, everything is amazing, it's all fantastic, it's all perfect, it's all wonderful, it's all great. There's just a certain level of that with certain groups, and Led Zeppelin's one of them. There are people who will keep trying to explain away that Jimmy Page committed, there are moments where he committed plagiarism. He didn't need to, he was brilliant, but he still did it. and they have trouble accepting that, and they try to find ways to
yeah.
rationalize it rather than say, yes, it was wrong.
He was lazy.
You know?
He was capable of coming up with things on his own.
I don't even know if that's a good enough answer for me. But I still have trouble understanding it about...
He's going to stir rocks next time we go out and stand in front of his house.
Well, I made a video where I talked about the song "Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You." I have another video that I've made where I'm not sure if it's coming out before or after this video, but where I talked about the track "Black Mountainside," where he basically stole a song he didn't need to steal. But I don't want to get off track here too far. We're getting off track here. But yeah, there is a certain amount of mindset to some Led Zeppelin fans, not all, where they have trouble dealing with any type of criticism that could be perceived as negative about them. The thing is I was never making any negative criticism about John Bonham or about Led Zeppelin.
It wasn't.
The only thing I criticized him for was his immature attitude over being ranked higher than him in that poll. The fact that he got so angry that he made such a big deal, said, well, she couldn't last 10 minutes with a Led Zeppelin song. That was immature. That was a sign of great insecurity on his part. And it was also the fact that he was extremely alcoholic. And that was the alcohol speaking too.
Yeah.
And
didn't you say that you found, or that there was video out there
of her playing a Led Zeppelin song? No. There were commenters who commented on my video who said that there was, in fact, footage taken of her playing a Led Zeppelin song, because when she found out about his angry reaction to it, she said, well, I hope he's not mad at me. I had nothing to do with this poll, you know. But there were people who said that there was footage, but I've never been able to find any that corroborates that. So if anybody knows about that, please post it on YouTube so we can see it.
Or send us a copy.
Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. But yeah, so, you know, there was that. The other thing about the comments is that I will say there were a percentage of comments I got from people who said that I was guilty of clickbait with my thumbnail. And I did post a follow-up video not too long after that video exploded, where I talked about the clickbait thing, and I said it was never my intention to create a clickbait thumbnail. And I want to talk about this for just a moment here and just talk about my process. When I created the thumbnail shows an image of Karen Carpenter on the drums, John Bonham on the drums. The headline says Karen Carpenter versus John Bonham, and then there's a line underneath that says, yes, this really happened. And a lot of people saw that thumbnail and thought that I was going to show footage of a drum off between the two of them, which never even occurred to me when I made that thumbnail. My thought at the time was, as I said earlier, I wanted, first of all, to show more people that she was a great drummer, but two, I wanted to talk about why I thought trying to rank musicians like this is like comparing apples to oranges. Those were my two primary motivations. So I thought about the Vanity Fair article and how angry John Bonham got, and him basically saying, I'm way better than her, which again, very immature. So Karen Carpenter versus John Bonham. That's where the title, and they both play drums, so I put an image of them both playing drums. Yes, this really happened. I was referring to this Vanity Fair article and his reaction to it. And there was a journalist there who was traveling with the band doing a story on them. He went to her. He angrily told her all about this. Obviously, he wanted her to write about this in the article. He wanted to use her as his soapbox, you know, to say, I'm way better than her. So she put it in the story. And that was the yes, this really happened part.
Yes.
Now, looking back, I can see where you might think that this video is going to give you a footage of a drum off. I can see that now.
Well, people assumed that.
Yeah.
And we all know what they say about
when you assume.
assuming.
Yes. But I can understand where people might have thought that. And so a lot of people said, you know, clickbait. I'm not subscribing to your channel. Clickbait. I voted thumbs down on you. I was expecting this, very disappointing. And there were people who left very angry comments about that. Because I'm sure there are people say, well, now that you realize this, why don't you change the thumbnail? And the thing is why should I? Because I can't argue with the success this video has had.
We're approaching 1 million views.
Well, yeah.
You're not changing the...
Yeah, no, you don't change something when it's working. I mean, the reaction, yes, this bit of negative reaction aside, the majority of response has been enormously positive. I'm going to say that maybe the people crying clickbait are maybe 10%.
But the thing is there are probably 100 videos up there that weren't up there prior to this.
There are a lot more videos now where they're actually talking about Karen Carpenter's drumming that have posted since my video. And I'm glad there are, because now more people are finding out about this.
People are noticing.
Noticing it,
they're educating, and
and a lot of them are
learning about this.
A lot of them are from drummers.
Exploring it further.
Yeah, a lot of them are from drummers who are reacting to this, making a video out of it, and I'm glad. If my video has in some way influenced them to say, hey, I'll make a video about this, then great. Because now more people are knowing about this and learning about it, and that's good. It's very sad what happened to her, because clearly she was more interested in being a drummer than being a vocalist. Drums were her real passion. And the record label wanted her away from the drums and out in front because she was such a great vocalist. And they wanted that. And that's what made her self-conscious. And that led to her anorexia nervosa.
It aggravated. I think it was there.
It was probably always there, but she probably became a lot more self-conscious when she was no longer behind a drum kit. And I just feel that had she been allowed to stay behind the kit, she would have been happier and
healthier.
Had she managed to stay behind the kit. And I just think that's very sad and tragic.
Because the clips that are out there. She's joyous.
Oh yeah, she's very joyous when she's playing. The ones we've seen where she's actually playing, and she's singing too, and she's very joyous about it. Yeah, and there's not a lot of them out there. There's mostly of her in front, and I'm not saying she was unhappy while she was singing, but it's what made. But apparently, and I think her brother corroborates this, that's what started to make her feel very self-conscious about her appearance. So it's very sad and it's tragic, But anyways, though, I can't argue with the success the video has had, and I'm not going to change the thumbnail now. But oh well, you can't, you can't influence everybody. There's always going to be people who don't understand what you're trying to say. It's just a part of life. It's part of YouTube. The thumbnail was clickbaity, but not intentionally. But I can't argue with the success of it. And that's kind of also a thing that's probably a topic for another day, is that unfortunately, that's the way the internet works. Clickbait runs everything to a certain extent.
Clickbait sells.
Clickbait sells. People,
they want the controversy.
People want headlines. Yeah, people want controversy. They, and YouTube tells you to create provocative, intriguing thumbnails and titles, and they will tell you that your thumbnail is one of the most important components in getting people to watch your video. And that you have to be creative. You have to be intriguing. You have to be provocative. They don't want you to clickbait. And by clickbait, I say, to me, clickbait is when you say one thing, but you deliver something that's completely like nothing to do with it. Your headline is my sexy swimsuit photos, and then you watch the video and it's some guy talking about his income tax service, something that makes just like nothing to do with each other. But just that's total clickbait in my opinion. But most people understand that the name of the game with YouTube is you have to find provocative and interesting and intriguing ways to get people to notice your video, look at your thumbnail, and click on it. And I've always tried to create intriguing thumbnails that would get people to want to watch, but I've never wanted to openly commit clickbait. I am guilty of it this time, unintentionally.
I don't think that you are, though, because you're giving them what you said.
Well, I am at least discussing the two of them as drummers.
You are discussing the two of them as drummers.
Yeah. But
when
I mean,
they were on, win this poll, how else are you supposed to clickbait it?
Yeah.
Or clickbait it.
Well, the thing is,
I'm sorry.
how are you supposed to describe it? And that's the thing. Sometimes what you want to talk about in a video is more nuanced than you're able to put into a thumbnail, into a sentence, a one sentence, title. It's too, so you have to find just a component of it that you can use to draw people in. And that's the difficult part. And there's always going to be people who are unhappy. There's always going to be people who say, that's clickbait. And like I said, it wasn't my intention, but I can see where you might have thought that I was going to show you footage of a drum off. I can see where you might have thought that. So I will say, yes, unintentionally I've committed clickbait. But in my defense, I will say that I hopefully offered something more intellectually nourishing than 90% of the intentional clickbait that's out there. The only other thing I wanted to bring up as far as the comments on that video is there were people who kept asking me, how come you only showed a clip of Karen Carpenter playing? How come you didn't show a clip of John Bonham playing? And insinuating that I was somehow being one-sided or unfair about this. And my answer to all of these comments, and I would comment to them directly if I was able to, I would say because it wasn't necessary. If you're watching this video, you already know how great John Bonham is on drums. You've seen lots of footage of him playing live if you didn't see them play live back when he was still alive. You don't need anyone to show you how great he was. But like me, most people had not actually seen Karen Carpenter play and seen what she was capable of. So I only felt it was necessary to put a clip of her playing, and on a more practical level, the less clips like that I put in a video, the less likely my video is going to get a copyright flag.
And with Led Zeppelin, it's 90% guaranteed.
And yeah, I hate to say it, yeah, if you put too long of a Led Zeppelin clip, you're going to get some kind of a flag or notice or something. I have been able to get away with like under 5 seconds of Led Zeppelin music for some of the videos where I talk about their music. I've been able to do under like 5 seconds, but any more than that, and you might very well get a copyright notice on your video saying it's going to be blocked in certain areas, or it's going to be demonetized, and heaven forbid you get a copyright strike, which is really bad. So yeah, to me it just was. I just thought it wasn't necessary. Anybody watching this video knows how good John Bonham was. You don't need a clip, but we did need a clip of Karen Carpenter. And luckily, I got no copyright notices for it. But then some music artists are less prone to do that than others. Eagles, excuse me. Anyways, though. So, yeah, I'm grateful for all the comments at the end of the day. I'm grateful that the video's done so well. I've tried to understand why, and I think it comes down to the thumbnail and the title. And that's why I do take some responsibility for unintentional clickbait, because it is a very provocative title and image. And I can see where you might have thought that it was one thing when it was another. So that's it for this edition of You're Answering Your Mean and Nasty Comments. By the way, that's just a tongue-in-cheek title. Some people took that title way too seriously in the last video I did of Mean and Nasty Comments. They think that I'm being serious when I say that. That's just a tongue-in-cheek title. Anyways,
we love all your comments.
Yeah, we love all your comments. I do. I read every single one. I can't answer everyone, but I do read every single one. Although the one exception was the Karen Carpenter versus John Bonham video, because there were so many. There was a point where I couldn't keep up with them. They were just coming in rapid fire, and I just couldn't keep up with them. At any rate, though, but I try to read every single one. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. As always, if you like these videos, be sure to hit like, hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you never miss a video. A big thank you to the Patreon supporters. Patreon supporters do receive exclusive weekly videos not available on this channel.
You are fierce and mighty.
And if you can't be a Patreon supporter, I understand. You can always leave a one-time super thanks. That helps out a great deal. You can also just click like. Clicking like is free, and it helps this channel a lot. We'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.